In these next two videos, I'm going to talk about how you go about marketing yourself and your business. And there are two ways that you can do this. The first, which we're going to talk about in this video, is through influencer marketing. And the second one, which I'm going to talk about in the next video, is through content marketing. So let's talk about influencer marketing. Now, once you've put in all this time and effort into growing your list of LinkedIn connections, you might then start to think about how you can use them to market your business, your website, or your blog. And this is where influencer marketing comes in. And this is a relatively new term in the world of internet marketing, but also one of the most powerful and important strategies that you can have available to you. Essentially, influencer marketing straddles the line between conventional marketing and networking, and combines them in a truly powerful way. What's more, it can save you countless hours when it comes to promoting yourself and getting ahead on the web. As it happens, LinkedIn is actually perfect for influencer marketing and is perhaps the optimal tool for doing it effectively. So, what is influencer marketing and how does this idea work? Basically, influencer marketing means that you're going to stop trying to reach as wide an audience as possible with your marketing, and instead you're going to focus on the quality of the audience you market to. This might mean focusing on one individual and getting them to retweet or promote something you have to say. So, if we were to take conventional marketing on Twitter, you might spend countless hours trying to build the number of followers and then trying to create new content that would help increase your engagement. Over countless hundreds of hours spread over months or years, you will build enough of a following to become an influencer in your niche and to start getting more business each time you post. With influencer marketing, though, you'd skip this step. Instead, you would focus on creating a relationship with someone who already has a huge amount of influence. Let's take Sir Richard Branson, for instance. If you could somehow reach Richard Branson and get him to tweet about your product and to use your username, you would likely get thousands of new followers overnight and gigantic sales for your book or your services. In other words, you could leapfrog all of the competition by going directly to a key influencer who has the ears and hearts of your audience. This way, just one single retweet, a guest post or a shout out could be an order of magnitude more effective than hundreds or even thousands would regularly be. The problem is, though, Richard Branson probably doesn't want to shout out to you on social media, and in fact, you probably have no means of contacting him. This is where that degrees of separation thing comes in again. You see, if you could find someone who knew someone who knew someone who knew Richard Branson, then you would be connected by 3 degrees of separation. And anyone who is connected to you by that many people will then show you your connection to them. In other words, you will be able to go onto LinkedIn and you will be able to see the 2 people who you need to go through to get to Richard Branson. What's more, if you're connected to someone by 3 degrees, then you'll be able to send them in-mail. This is a message they'll receive in their LinkedIn inbox, and which statistically has a higher chance of being opened. Suddenly, it becomes all the more possible that you could reach a big influencer in your niche, especially if you're working hard to grow the prominence of your website. Get big enough, and you might be considered an E-lister. That might be enough to encourage a few C-listers to contact you to potentially do business together. That in turn means that you now have the opportunity to directly contact some of the biggest thought leaders on the planet. Yep, this is powerful stuff. Now remember what we said earlier though. Outright messaging Richard Branson out of the blue is not going to go down well, even if you have a vague connection by people that neither of you really know all that well. Yep, imagine that. So, how do you go about getting the attention of the big players? Well, one trick is not to aim quite so big. Instead of looking to get a free promotion from the biggest names in your industry, try to make meaningful connections with the rising stars. Look at the people who are just ahead of you and try to work with them instead of trying to jump ahead. These people will have a much better chance of wanting to connect with you because they won't be inundated with requests and because they have something to gain from the relationship as well as you do. Even then, though, you need to be careful about how you get in touch. Once you've made the connection, try to manage that connection by congratulating them on a birthday or something like that, or by sharing content that they might find interesting. More about that a bit later. Then, when you do get in touch, make sure it's with something that they'll genuinely find interesting, and avoid trying to do any sort of thinly veiled motivations that are too self-serving. Think about the kind of message that you would respond to and try to come across as more genuine. This is even more important if you're emailing a big name in your industry. Instead of straight away telling them that you want to do business with them, just try saying that you're a huge fan and that you'd love it if they checked out your website. Leave it at that for a while. Likewise, sharing something that you think might be useful to them is another way to gradually build a rapport. Tip number 1. Note that you may already have some very powerful contacts in your connections. It could well be that someone you know is now a big name in a particular blogging sphere, and if they've already connected with you, then this is almost like a freebie. LinkedIn makes life easy for you as well by actually highlighting the true thought leaders with an influencer badge right on their profile. And so you want to be persistent, but not too much. Don't be disheartened if you don't get a positive response right away. You'll likely find that these people have a lot on their plate, and as such they won't always have time to respond to your messages. The best strategy is to wait a few months, even a year, and then try again. Don't be bitter, and instead just be friendly and outgoing. The result is that you'll eventually become known to them, even though they don't respond. You can also try contacting them through other means, through Facebook for instance. Comment on their blog posts a couple of times too. And when you want to be persistent though, you don't always want to be annoying, or you'll end up being blocked and you're going to ruin any chance of a meaningful relationship in the future. Never email more than once every few months, unless you get a response, and don't write overly long messages. Bear in mind, these people are going to be busy. And never come across as rude, entitled, or bitter. Oh, and remember that you're trying to make a good impression here, so spelling counts for a lot. The objective here is not to come across as a rabid fan. Better yet, though, is to ask for an introduction in person. Here, you will only be using LinkedIn to identify the people who are powerful connections in your network, and you're then going to do the rest in person. So once you see that someone you know is twice removed from a powerful business partner, you can then ask them to introduce you at a party or a similar networking event or something like that. And this way you'll have a much better chance of being able to make a good impression. The people who we meet in real life are far more memorable than the people who contact us on the web, for obvious reasons. And we're far more likely to want to do them favors or to work with them if they can come across well. Okay, in the next part of this video, I'll talk you through content marketing and how you can bring all this together.